Hey everybody, David the AI Guide here. Welcome to another episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Also be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I have a new book out on Amazon called The Beginner's Guide to AI, which will give you a very quick but deep summary of AI use in a bunch of different industry verticals. It's a very easy read. Hopefully you like it. And also support us on Patreon. So today we're going to talk about Tesla. I haven't talked about Tesla in a long time because everyone else talks about Tesla. But today's talk follows on a segment I did a week or two ago, actually coming out today, called The World's Largest Computer Chip. So what I'm going to talk about today is last month in August of 2021, Tesla announced and unveiled details about their own internal AI chip that they have designed and are building now called D1. And in complement to the video that's coming out today, this article also talks about how some of the biggest AI companies, think Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, are also developing their own chips. And we talked in detail in that other video about why these companies are doing it. Well, the reason why is that computers are run by CPUs, or central processing units, which are not powerful enough to run AI. That this was one of the gating factors inhibiting the explosion of AI that was solved around 2015, along with the perfection of the neural network. The neural network first came out, a working neural network, first came out in 2012. The first neural networks were developed in the early 60s, but they didn't work. But by 2012, one that would work was developed, and then it was more or less matured and perfected in the next 3 years, and by 2015 a lot of people were starting to use them. But you have to have very powerful computing to do that, and some of the pioneers of AI were using NVIDIA gaming chips called GPUs. And in fact, Tesla was using NVIDIA chips in its cars to process data coming in from cameras and radar. So what's interesting is that Tesla is taking a different approach than the other self-driving companies to full autonomy. And what's different about their approach? Well, the other companies are using, instead of radar, they use LiDAR, which is laser. And what it can do is create 3D images that are coming into the car for processing. So it really very well resolves spatially what the car is seeing as it moves along. This is the Waymo approach, for example. What Elon Musk has decided to do with Tesla is use neural networks instead. So radar is cheaper, much cheaper, and what he is trying to do is to build more and more powerful neural networks in the cars that can absorb more and more data about where they are, what's around them, obstacles to avoid, speed up, slow down, all of that. So it's a different approach. And like a lot of companies, that are heavy into AI right now, they are developing their own chips, just like the big three that I mentioned a few minutes ago. This is a fundamental change in the computing community because historically there were two kinds of companies in the computing world. There were hardware companies and software companies, and hardware companies built the chips and built the computers from mainframes all the way down to down to personal computers, and most recently quantum computers, very early stage on that one. But, and then software companies, which did all the programming, and they were very separated. They really didn't try to do what each other is doing. Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, and now Tesla are trying to vertically integrate, which is a big change. So they're trying to do hardware and software. They're trying to do everything in their offering. You can see that with Microsoft, Amazon, and Google with AR and VR technology that's hardware that they're coming out with. Microsoft has gone heavy in that because they went heavy in gaming and AR and VR as a natural complement. But now Tesla is doing it, and they are designing their own hardware to process more and more data. And what they are hoping to do by doing this is to leapfrog their competition and get to full autonomy faster. I did a short that just posted about Lyft working with Mobility, which is a joint venture of Aptiv and Hyundai. They're going to have robo-taxis with no driver in them out in 2 years. So this is where Tesla is trying to go. They're trying to leapfrog the Chinese, the Koreans, and their US competition and get to full autonomy first. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. We all know that Elon Musk has done many things that people said were impossible. For example, with SpaceX, all of the so-called experts at the legacy rocket company said it was impossible to land and reuse a rocket. SpaceX just did that for their 96th time, I think, most recently. 96 times they have done the impossible. So we shouldn't bet against Elon Musk. Whatever anyone else says about Elon Musk, in my opinion, my personal opinion, he is the greatest engineer who has ever lived. He has taken numerous impossible to solve engineering problems and solved them. That pretty much makes you the greatest engineer in history. So we shouldn't think that what he's trying to do isn't possible, number one. And number two, I think we all know by now that once a new technology comes out and then matures, others find multiple ways of getting to that same result. That's normal because of iteration and copycatting, which happens. So this is great, but what all this means is that full self-driving is coming, and it's coming faster than I even thought it was going to come. I have been telling people, my viewers here, that you don't want to be a taxi driver by 2025 because you're not going to have a job, at least most of you won't. And given my other short where I talked about how, I forget if it was Mobility or someone else now, but someone just got licensed for self-driving in New York City, the most demanding self-driving environment on the planet, other than maybe Tokyo or Mexico City, or they're all comparable, I guess, or Beijing. Suffice it to say, full autonomy should be here within a couple of years, 3 max. So as I've always been telling you, AI is exponential. Computer vision / sensors are exponential. So these technologies are evolving so rapidly now, and the combination of them accelerates all of them even further, that things are going to happen even faster than people are expecting. So be prepared. Click the link. Get your free resource about AI. The resource is free. The tools it gives you is free. are all free. Learn everything you can about AI because you are going to have to work with it every day at your job within 5 years from now, 2026. You will have to work every day with AI at your job. So learn it, understand it, get used to it, be prepared, be smart, and don't be a taxi driver. Find something else that requires the human touch. Thanks. Take care.